Hello and welcome. This video provides an introductory overview of implementing transition discoveries. Let's get started by doing a quick review of the history of the Transition Discoveries Initiative and the Transition Discoveries Framework. A team of people from the Institute on Disabilities at Temple University, George Washington University, and the Pennsylvania Youth Leadership Network sought to answer the question, how do we know what good transition looks like when we see it? Funded by the Pennsylvania Developmental Disabilities Council, the team engaged over 500 young people with disabilities, their families, and other invested stakeholders in a participatory action research project. In this project, young people and their families shared about their dreams and goals for life after high school, as well as the practices, programs, and services that support efforts to achieve them. All of this important work resulted in the Transition Discoveries Framework of High Quality Transition and the Transition Discoveries Quality Indicator Metric, designed to evaluate programs according to it. Transition Discoveries is a research-based, data-driven model created by youth, families, and other invested stakeholders in Pennsylvania and designed to support all young people in reaching their dreams and goals. Since its inception, additional stakeholders have joined the Transition Discoveries Initiative, including the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network, over 25 school and district stakeholders, and the network continues to grow. Made by young people for young people, the framework is comprised of 9 quality indicators, including transition planning, youth development, person and family directed planning, family engagement, relationships, independent living and community engagement, cross-agency collaboration, employment, and post-secondary education. Each quality indicator or area of practice is further broken down into sub-indicators. There are a total of 54 sub-indicators or areas of practice, programs, and services. To learn more about the research behind transition discoveries and to explore the Transition Discoveries Framework, scan the QR codes shown here. Transition Discoveries is a systems level approach to empowering youth, families, and stakeholders to improve transition practices and programs in their community. Systems are defined as the networks of knowledge, support, and influence between youth, families, schools, agencies, and community stakeholders that together impact positive post school outcomes. Schools and communities use the TD framework as a lens to engage their community in identifying what works and what could be better, all with the goal of improving one or more of the 9 quality indicator areas. Schools and communities are encouraged to take on the challenge of improving practices, programs, and services at a systems level, across and in collaboration with schools, agencies, and community partners and stakeholders, such as employers and nonprofits. Using a comprehensive research package from TD, LEAs engage youth, families, and stakeholders in the design and implementation of a data-driven plan to improve, expand, and innovate current transition practices, programs, and services. Teams will identify effective transition practices, programs, and/or services across the system, identify potential priorities of transition for improvement and organizational factors that contribute to them across the system, and develop and implement a systems level plan that draws upon strengths to address priorities and then contributing factors. Plans leverage the comprehensive tool and research package from TD. The Transition Discoveries implementation process focuses on the completion of 4 main stages. Each stage has a corresponding coaching and progress monitoring requirement where LEA teams work alongside both the training and consultative services of Patent and the Transition Discoveries Initiative team. Each of the 4 stages of the implementation process is comprised of several sub-steps. The sub-steps represent an iterative process meaning that each step must be completed and applied to the next step in order to move forward to the next stage of implementation. All stages of the implementation process are led by the LEA's Transition Change Agent Team, or TCAT. More on this TCAT team in a minute. For now, just know that this TCAT is comprised of youth, families, and stakeholders from schools, agencies, and the community. This team must be created before implementation begins. Members of the TCAT will first complete a set of training modules to learn about how to empower and grow the TCAT, collect transition discoveries data and use data collection tools, identify priorities for action planning from the transition discoveries data. After the initial training is completed, the implementation process begins with the use of the Transition Discoveries Survey to gather data from youth, families, and stakeholders about effective transition practices, programs, and services, as well as those that represent priority areas for innovation and improvement. Before the survey is administered, the TCAT will work to identify youth, families, and other stakeholders who together provide a representative sample of the diversity of individuals in their community. The goal is to gather input from at least 30 young people, 30 families, and 30 other invested stakeholders. The team will use a systematic approach coupled with evidence-based practices for youth and family engagement in order to identify the representative sample to complete the survey. The final piece of stage 1 is to develop and begin to implement the TCAT's engagement, leadership, and learning plan. The purpose of this plan is to ensure that all TCAT members are empowered leaders in the implementation of transition discoveries. TCAT members, in particular youth and their families, will participate in activities listed in the plan with the goal of increasing their knowledge about transition and their leadership skills. This work is critical because being a change agent is a teachable skill that can and should be fostered. Building up change agents is critical to the LEA's success in implementing transition discoveries. Let's take a deeper look at who is part of the TCAT, as this is a critical component of the transition discoveries implementation process. Remember, the TCAT leads the implementation of TD in their community while collaborating with all relevant persons and stakeholders to design and implement a plan to improve transition at a systems level. The Transition Discoveries Initiative team, as well as consultants from the local intermediate unit and regional patent offices, will provide external support and training to the TCAT members. While the size of the TCAT may vary based on factors such as community size, the internal LEA's TCAT must consist of a team champion who will serve as the TCAT lead and internal coach. This should be a school-based or district staff member who is well organized with strong technology skills and a commitment to transition efforts. A partner with transition knowledge, for example, a special education teacher or transition coordinator, a district administrator or special education coordinator. This person should have the knowledge and authority to give clearance on implementation of major activities, such as collecting transition discovery survey data, holding a community action planning event, and implementing district-wide activities to improve transition practices, services, and opportunities. One or more lead young persons to be the voice of local transition-aged youth. One or more lead parents or family members to be the voice or parents and families of transition-aged youth. And an optional but encouraged agency or community partner in transition. Stage 2 involves identifying priority areas from the results of this data collection process using the What Works Data Hub. The What Works Data Hub automatically analyzes the data from the Transition Discovery Survey for each team and explains results for how often and how effective transition practices, programs, and services are according to the definitions of effective practices across the 9 indicators of the Transition Discovery's Quality Indicator Framework. The data tool is fully interactive and visualized to allow for connected and data-driven decisions to be made regarding priority areas to be addressed. Information is also provided regarding factors that influence the frequency and quality of current transition practices, programs, and services. When identifying priority areas for improvement, teams must focus on employment in addition to 1 to 2 other areas of the framework supported by their transition discoveries data. To support future efforts to address employment, during this stage, the TCAT will complete a course focusing on job coaching. In stage 2, teams will also continue to implement the engagement, leadership, and learning plan. In stage 3, the TCAT will facilitate a community action planning event where groups of youth, families, and other stakeholders and partners from across the community come together to discover, dream, and deliver on ways to improve the priority areas of transition practices as identified during stage 2. This process will look unique to each school and community. It can be conducted in person or virtually, but should be highly interactive. There is a very specific, research-based process that will be followed. Discovering, dreaming, and delivering are the 3 parts of the Transition Discoveries Community Action Planning event. Together, the TCAT and community members will work in groups to create 3 rounds of vision boards to illustrate and visualize their thoughts and ideas as a group. The approach used to facilitate community action planning is research-based. Much more information on discovering, dreaming, and delivering processes will be provided. During this 3rd stage, the team champion ensures all TCAT members are trained on the community action planning event process beforehand and managing the logistics of the event. The team is provided guidance and materials needed to facilitate the community action planning event training. The 4th and final main stage of the TD process is the implementation of the activities on the action plan created during the community action planning event. Importantly, the TCAT will continuously draw upon the Transition Discoveries data to inform their activities. During this time, monthly progress monitoring will occur between the TCAT and the IU Patent staff and the Transition Discoveries Initiative team. At the start of stage 4, the TCAT will complete additional online coursework on evidence-based practices for improving their priority area for action planning. There are 9 courses available that align to the priority areas that teams may be working on to implement an action plan for. Courses include transition planning, youth development, person and family directed planning, family engagement, relationships, independent living and community engagement, cross-agency collaboration, employment, and post-secondary education. TCATs will be focusing their action planning on only select areas and will therefore only take the courses that are relevant to their action planning priorities. These courses teach teams how to train others in using specific evidence-based practices and tools related to improving their priority areas for action planning, and it also provides teams with the needed materials to implement them. Concurrently, with these 4 stages of implementation, the TCAT will participate in an online community of practice. This will be a space where TCATs across the state who are implementing transition discoveries can share best practices for successful implementation of their action plans to improve transition practices, programs, services, and supports. Importantly, all TCATs will use a short, uniformly formatted check-in sheet to share their progress monthly with the community of practice. The primary purpose of the community of practice is to continuously collect and disseminate effective practices across teams so that others can adopt the practices and learn from this peer-to-peer style guidance system. Again, the Transition Discoveries Framework strives to help schools and communities move beyond compliant transition practices and towards discovering and implementing best practices and improving systems based on input and ideas from young people, families, and other important stakeholders and partners. As we have mentioned throughout the description of each stage, teams will receive assistance in many forms from a variety of supports. This image summarizes the supports teams will receive, including TD Community of Practice meetings, Schoology courses, coaching and support from intermediate unit and patent consultants, and the TD Initiative team, TD Transition Curriculum, online learning centers, and resource centers. Now that you have completed this introduction to transition discoveries, please continue your learning by visiting the Transition Discoveries website and visiting the Framework tab. Thank you.